So a very good friend of me donated this tree for this video. So he had it just over a year, I think. He hasn't done anything to it apart from just fertilizing and just watering it, just looking after it so it's nice and healthy. As you can see here, we've got some really good shoots on there on all the trees. So this is a really good sign that it's really healthy, so this is ready to work. So it has been worked before in the past by the previous owners, but at some point it lost its shape. So we're gonna rectify that. We're gonna just make something beautiful out of it again. So these junipers are Itoigawa junipers. So these two ones are Itoigawa junipers. As you can see, they have a little bit different color than that one at the bottom. So this one on the bottom is called a juniper Blaauws. It's a little bit bluey as well. So if you're not sure about the variety, it's a little giveaway. They grow just as well as the normal juniper, the Japanese junipers, the Itoigawa junipers, but they're not as refined. But they're still very usable for bonsai. Hence, this is part of the composition. It's not a big problem that it's got a different color in there. Sometimes people, when they do forest plantings and rock plantings as these, they want everything the same. In my opinion, is the variety is make it quite interesting, and sometimes a bit fun as well. Instead of just having everything one color, this can be a bit boring maybe. I think this is quite a nice front, as the rock has got a nice taper to it. This is handmade by somebody. I'm not sure who. There's no stamps or anything on the rock on this side, maybe underneath somewhere, so maybe we'll see that when we sometime when we come to repot it. The pot as well, it's a handmade pot, nice and rustic. So this is a handmade rock, so it's just made out of clay, and it's been sculpted and then been fired in a kiln. So this will stay good for forever basically. So very nice done. It's got some nice textures on it, some nice coloring as well. I think the front of the tree will be about here. So it has a nice taper in the rock, which is important. So from other sides, the taper is more or less everywhere, but then on this side, as you can see, these trees are on the back, so you won't really see much of it unless it just kind of shines through it. So if you got a pad here, kind of want a pad here in the back, so you see a little bit of that, but it's mostly hidden, so it's not really a nice front. So over here, it could work. Even this is not that interesting. The other side is a bit more interesting. All the trees are going away from you, but that problem can be solved with a bit of wiring. You can do quite a lot just to make it come back again. But as I said, the rock is not that interesting. We can hide a little bit, but I think it's not that interesting if you compare it to the other side. First thing we're gonna do, we're gonna just clean out all the branches. So everything what is, okay, remove that. It's still attached, so we're just gonna prune that off. So here you can see a little bit of damage. So somebody might have just been pinching that, so they might have just plucked it off. So what happens? It just kind of dies off all the way to the nearest junction. So just gonna, as you can see here, it's just got a little tip, it's just a little bit brown. So what happens with the junipers, they die back all the way to the nearest junction. So So you can just pinch that out with a little tweezer. So that these ones got a nice little green tip on there. So these will become growing tips, and that will just extend. So if you just basically pinch that or prune that, then the whole thing dies off. So that's why we prune junipers and not pinch. So again here we just got a little one there. Let's show you. Okay. So when we're finished here, we don't want to see anything brown left on there. We just only want to see the good branches, the good foliage. Any dead branches we're going to remove. So it'll be nice and clean, so we see what we're working with. And then we can decide what we're gonna prune off. It's now September, and it's quite normal to have little dead bits just everywhere in your tree. As it's a living thing, it will keep replacing its foliage. So you get new foliage, and then the old one appears as well. So it's just natural. If it's gonna be overly too much, then you have to think about what's happening with the tree. You might have some problems with the tree. Maybe underwatering. That can even be from a couple months ago. As the junipers and evergreens in general, they respond a little bit later than, for instance, the deciduous trees. So you might have missed watering for a day, but that might be not this week, but it might be a couple of weeks ago. And then just later on they will respond. So it can be quite difficult to find a reason for that. Thing about going straight down, we want to remove that as well. So we just focus on cleaning the branches out. So we've got a nice view of the lines of the branches. So we've got a clear view where we're going to put the wire and which ones we're going to connect together. So if we have too many branches, it's going to be a right mess with all the wires and stuff, because we're going to connect two branches with one wire. So then it just makes it nice and neat. If we have too many branches, then we have too many wires just going across and everywhere, and it's just gonna be a bit untidy. I want to keep it as nice and neat as possible, to make the appearance look nice as well. If you can see lots of wire in there, it just takes away the viewing of the tree. This is a little bit weaker, as you can see. So these ones are nice and bushy, but that one is a little bit sparse, so I'm going to remove that. We've got another one. That one is a lot better, so we're going to take this one out. And replace that with that one. So we're already looking ahead. So what we can do for the styling, really. So we're going to prepare the tree. You can just dive in and just wire everything, and then just put it all into a nice little triangle. Will be amazing, but it's about the future of the tree. It's not just what we do today, but it's about creating something for the future as well. So I have to make sure it's going to be a nice job, a proper job. so then we don't have to deal with our mistakes later on. So this one just coming down, and then we already got a nice little profile there, even without wiring it. So this is a important part of bonsai, the cultivation. So if you know the cultivation well, how to grow bonsai, how to grow trees, plants, that's kind of half the job, or more than half the job. And the artistic part you can always learn. That's a lot easier, as people think it's not the easiest one, but it is the easiest one. The big trick is that we prune properly. So we just prune away what's going to cause us a problem in the future, and anything we can keep to just make it look nicer, it's all better really. So we try to just prune cleverly. So the way we prune it, we're just going to prune. Later on, I'm going to take all the growth what's pointing down, going to take that off. So we're going to save ourselves some time just by wiring everything. So we can I can spend 4 hours on this, wiring every tiny little shoot, pointing it all upwards, and make it all look nice and perfect. But the main thing is just we have to work smarter really. So if we can do half a job by making the trees look better by pruning, this saves us a lot of time just wiring it. And as well, once the tree is wired, at some point the wire has to come off as well. So there's all extra time what we have to spend on that tree. Yeah, which we could do other things really. Of course, it's enjoyment, but working on your tree. But if you got loads of trees, you have to just, well, cut some corners, be clever, and yeah, be more efficient with your work. Really. You can do bonsai just by pruning, but sometimes because they're quite young trees and we need to keep them vigorous because only in a small pot, they will start to grow upwards again. So once you lay them all out, they're all nice and laid out, the pads, and then the new shoots like this, they will start to grow upwards again. So if you just leave it alone, it'll just go back to a big bush, and then you're back to square one really. So that's why you really need to pay attention to your maintenance, otherwise your trees will just go back to a bush. So deciduous trees you can do mainly by pruning. At some point you have to just put them in the right direction with wiring, but after that it's just mainly pruning. You can just maintain the shape. But with junipers, pines, evergreens in general, they just kind of grow back to the light because they just want to grow up. So you just have to every second, third year, you have to wire the new shoots and point them down again. So you have to kind of add to the style of the tree. So the tree is already styled. There's already some bends in there, as you can see here. So it's been done before, but it just needs setting again. So when we prune back, want to prune back as far as we can. So in some books it says just prune the tip off, but we've got all of this here sticking there, sitting there. So what we want is to prune back as hard as we can. So if this is the whole branch, you can see all the little shoots down here. They're all very good, very strong. So I can prune it back here. So that's quite a bit longer instead of just the little tip like that. It still works, but you got all of this still on the tree. Especially for a small tree, it makes a lot of difference. Just an extra inch or so on the tree. So with junipers, they just like to grow and grow like long like this. So if we don't prune them back hard enough, it'll just get longer and longer and longer and longer. See a bit better now. So you got all these nice shoots down there. We can prune it right there. So as you can see here, I cleaned a little bit out from the underneath. It's already starting to look quite nice. See, so now we only have to wire the main branch and point it in the right direction, and we get ourselves a nice little pad. So some ones here, they're not too strong. There's only a little tip, so we only take a little tip out. So every branch is just a little bit different. It'll be very easy if we can say, oh yeah, just take ½ inch of everything. But you got so many different growing tips. So these ones are quite noticeable, nice and long. But in fact, all of those little strands can turn into one of those. So next year, one of them will be kind of the leader, and that one just grows out. So that one is also a growing tip, but it's just a little bit shorter. So we can't take the whole thing out. I already pruned a little bit. I'll take a little bit out of that. You can see that. It's nice and clean. Yeah, so this is a good preparation for wiring. It's going to be quite easy because we only got a couple branches to do there. So that one is done. Now we're just going to prepare this one. Go prune through this one here. We're just going to look at the branches, how they're going to look like. So obviously this one is just pointing upwards, and that one is pointing downwards. So we're going to move that one, and that one, and that one, that one, that one. You can see it's going to be nice and clean now underneath. There's still a lot of branches here all clustered together. Just gonna take a little bit out of the inside. Well, this one only's got one strand on, you see, very long, and then a growing tip on the end. And that, if that gets enough light, it will turn into one of those. But it hasn't got much future really. It hasn't got any other side ones on, so we're gonna take that off. That's a nice little branch down there. So once we wire that, we can place it in a direction, and we don't have to wire all of the small ones because they're all nicely holding up. So for this job I like to use a scissors with long handles and with a tiny point, so we can get right in there, right in the inside for details. So if you got a pair of scissors with just a little bit too bulky, so this one works as well, but it's just a little bit more bulky. As you can see, the difference is half the size. So it does still work. This is like a general long handle scissors. It still works, but that's just a little bit more refined. So we'll continue the same work with the one here on the top. So now we come to the wiring of the tree. As it is, it looks quite nice. If you really want to, you could just leave it as it is, but I like to do things the best I can. So we're gonna put a little bit of wire on just to give that a little bit of extra attention to the tree to make it just a little bit better. As you can see here, this branch is quite straight. It looks nice from the front, it looks nice and round, but underneath, the structure of the branch is quite poor, quite straight. So this one is nice. This one is nice and twirly. The tree is not too twirly. It doesn't really matter. When you got a straight trunk, you can have straight branches, but it comes off a cliff. So I think this should have a bit more movement to that. Unfortunately, we can't put any more movement into the main trunk. It's just a little bit too hard. It's going to be quite difficult to put a big wire on there and try to bend that. So we just have to live with it. Maybe in the future we can add a little bit of shari. That means just a little bit of dead wood, just like a little line or something. just to give it a little bit of extra interest instead of just one plain color trunk. It just gives a little bit of contrast as well. I'm gonna wire this piece, and then we're just gonna put a bit more movement in there. So probably just gonna, because this is, I think this is the direction of the tree, just going that way, because it's that way. So we want to just create a bit of a movement in there. I'm gonna break this piece up in two parts. So the lower part will be a branch, and the top part will be the top. I think that will work quite nice. And this one, it's got a nice shape to it, but I think we can make a bit more dramatic shape to that and make it a little bit lower. So come to this one here now. So decided, just gonna prune off there. That one as well. So get a little bit more definition in these two branches here. So a little bit more space in between. Okay, thank you for watching, and see you at the next one. Bye bye.